nervous because I'm here now.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and we are here for you to provide you with all the breaking news when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, NFL headlines, all the above. So we're going to get into the most sensitive of news when it comes to the Ravens, the most lightning rod type scenario, and that is Lamar Jackson. There's a source, Ben Volin from the Boston Globe, reporting that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are not close on a contract extension. Brief reporting. It doesn't look like it's a very in-depth piece, but it is being reported nonetheless. So we're going to talk about what we think about it and how we're reacting to it. But before we do, take a second, hit the subscribe button, give us a like, leave us all your comments and thoughts on the video below. We love interacting with you guys. But Glenn, I just want to read the quote here. It's just a quick sentence. It says, two sources said Jackson and the Ravens have started talking about a contract extension, but the sides are far apart. One problem for Jackson is that he still has 2 years left on his deal and is only making $1.77 million in 2021.
I don't even understand that last sentence you just read.
Me neither. It's
why is that
pointless.
A problem for Jackson?
Right.
It's an inevitability. He has That's just what it is. You sign every rookie signs a rookie deal.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he would say that's a problem.
Right.
That's just what it is. It's not a problem. It's just how it is. So, and I guess the second thing was, no offense to Ben Volin, but who could possibly be his sources? Because here's who a typical source is, Jimmy, and you know this. It's usually the agent of the player. Well, Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent. Matter of fact, he has a manager, and it's his mother. And I'm certain that Ben Volin doesn't have a connection with Lamar's mother. So I can't imagine it's coming from her. So the only other side would be like Eric DeCosta or like a Pat Moriarty. I strongly doubt the fact that either one, even if it was true, would be talking about it, because it's not a good look. So
right.
I find it hard to believe, like, two sources. Who could even be one of their sources? Because why would, if it were true that they're far apart, why would Eric DeCosta even want that known? That's not a good look. And it's only going to make the fan base nervous or concerned. So at first I'm just questioning where Ben got his information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I saw Ben Volin from the Boston Globe, and I thought, okay, how many days have how many press conferences have you been in? How many interviews have you done with Lamar Jackson? And then, I'm not here to disparage his reporting or the validity of it. It just seems like there's a lot of conclusions being made, assumptions being made, and conclusions being drawn. And yeah, I'd like to know who his two sources to. I'd love to know if we could give some truth serum who those people are, right? Like, unless it's
who could possibly be in the know? Like, if we made a list.
Is it weird for me to think that, like, what's this dude call Kodak Black or something to him and Lamar, like, talk about money and maybe, stupid as that sounds. Like, that sounds so dumb. I literally couldn't think of anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, the only chance would be but I doubt Lamar would even talk business with close friends. So it would have to be a list of Pat Moriarty, Eric DeCosta, Dick Cass, and Lamar Jackson and his mother. I mean, I don't know who else would even be on that list.
The only other person, I guess, maybe John's privy to some of these conversations. But once again, John's not going to talk about this.
John's the last person that would want to talk about this.
So, he's the ultimate politician, baby.
But let's assume that Ben does have some sort of direct line, just for the sake of this video. And let me ask you this, Jimmy. What would be a number that, because they said they're far apart, according to Ben, what would be a number that is considered too much that Lamar would be requesting, or Lamar and his mother or whoever else he has representing him? What would be a number that's too much that you think the Ravens would actually say, no, we can't go that high? What would be that number, Jimmy?
All right, so I think Ravens fans are going to get upset at me, but you got to think about two things. One, think about his job is to make as much money as he can. That's everyone's job in their job, right? You want to make as much money as you can. Yeah. So I am walking in there and I'm asking for Pat Mahomes money. That's what I'm doing. So call it 45 annually, 45 million annually. Now I know Pat's deal kind of does a little bit of this, and it's unique, but I'm walking in there and I want $45 million a year. I am not saying that so I guess that's what I would be asking for if I'm Lamar. I think the Ravens would shut the door on that for the for the sake of the future of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, to me, the number that, I mean, I can't be mad at the guy for asking for it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you go in and you ask for the stars and then you negotiate. That's
Right.
the whole deal of negotiating. You don't undersell yourself or ask for a little amount, because then,
Right.
so I think that you're right. I think you go in and you ask to be you ask to be the highest paid, which typically that's how it goes. If you're the latest to be paid and you're a successful quarterback, especially, you're the highest paid. And then you're leapfrogged by the guys behind you on the list that are just as competent. So I think you start at 45, 46. I agree with you. I think the Ravens would probably try and convince him otherwise, and let him know that, look, there's some other guys that are in line, some of your favorite targets being Andrews and Hollywood, that they're going to need to get paid too. And if we pay you, this money, we may have to make a decision on him. Not that that's his concern, but he have a close relationship with a guy like Hollywood, and he may, I don't know. I don't know what the negotiation process is. It's got to be different not having an agent, because you have to tread a little bit lighter. And, typically you can be a little more honest with the agent in your evaluation of the player and why you came to the conclusion you did and what number. I don't know if you want to be quite as honest with him and his mother, because it's them. They're going to get offended, which is why there's an agent involved, usually a middle guy to kind of be the mediator between the two sides. But for me, anything less than 40 is an insult. Anything less than Deshaun Watson, who has not reached near the level of success in the pro level that Lamar has, is an insult. I can understand why the team would say, look, Pat Mahomes, he's done what you did and more. He's won the MVP and he won Super Bowl MVP and then took them to another Super Bowl where they lost. But I think that you can make a case why he shouldn't make Pat Mahomes money. I don't see a case where you can't where you can say he doesn't deserve to be paid more than Watson.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. You know what we're gonna have to do, Glenn? We're gonna have to hit up Josh, and not that I'm not expecting Josh to give us any names around people that Lamar confides in, but one of the things I think that's important to understand is, like you said, who are these possible sources that
there's like 5 people that would know, maybe.
Right. I find it so, like, I'm so perplexed by this idea that he has not one but 2 sources, and he's from the Boston Globe. Yeah. Like, wouldn't Jamison Hensley have 20 if you have 2?
Or Mike Preston, who's been in this area for 30 years reporting? Like, right. Yeah, I doubt that Ben from the Globe has more connections in the Ravens organization than Mike Preston or any number of these guys that are in the Baltimore area and have been here for a long, long time. But let me ask you this, Jimmy. What do you think about this possible scenario? That, the stat that came out during the Super Bowl or right after the Super Bowl is that no team, Jimmy, in the last 20 years has won a Super Bowl where their quarterback has a salary that's 13% or more of the team's total salary cap. No team in 20 years has done it. So there's no doubt that if he got paid more than Deshaun, that he's going to be above that 13%.
Yeah, I think it'd be around like 22%.
Yeah, it'd be a steep number. Now, I think that by the time that his extension would kick in, the cap would probably be up, but still, regardless, it's going to be above 13%. So do you think the Ravens are starting to buy, they're leaders in analytics. I mean, they dive into the analytics and it drives a lot of their decisions. So do you think they see that and they go, man, that's not a small sample size, Jimmy, that's 20 years. And maybe they're thinking, maybe we should try and get them below that. I'm just throwing it out there. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I'm with you 100%. I think that the Ravens, if you think that this is the way I answer this question, I think the Ravens are very cognizant of that stat, right? And I think that what they're going to try and do, if you think that the Kansas City Chiefs got creative in Pat's deal, and I think it's funny, everyone talks about how creative the agent got. Agents are important, but I really think that, I can be totally wrong, I don't know, but I think that the team did a lot to drive that deal as well. The relationship between Pat and the team, and the want to be there and the want to have him, mutual respect, is really what drove the creativity behind that deal to make it as team friendly as possible while still checking all his boxes. And so I think that if you think the Kansas City Chiefs got creative, I have to believe that Eric DeCosta and his team have just as much brain power, experience, and ability to get just as creative. So I think that they're going to try and dance around that, right, Glenn? Like, walk that line. And it's just like you said, projected increases in salary cap, projected performance, guaranteed money, being able to switch, manipulate that money as easy as possible. There's so many nuances to this deal. It's going to be really interesting. But I guess, yeah, so that's how I'd answer that question. The best way I would answer it is that they're cognizant of it. I think they're going to try and dance right around, as close as they can. I mean, they're going to have to go over it. I also think that it's inevitable that stat eventually will be broken, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, let's see, the AFC Championship game, you had Pat Mahomes, and oh my gosh, why am I blanking, Glenn?
Josh Allen.
Oh yeah, Josh Allen.
And he's due. And let me just say this, Jimmy. Starting next season, this season was the last year where Pat Mahomes was relatively cheap.
Right.
Next year and on, he's above that 13% of your cap. So if he wins it, then he would certainly break that trend. And then I think you're right. Josh Allen is next in line, and he's as well as he's playing, he's expected to get paid like the top 3 quarterback as well. So if he's able to make that leap and make it happen, and once frickin' Brady retires, who is
he's the one that's ruining this stat.
He is, because he wins it every year, and he's fortunate enough to have a wife who makes even more money than he does, and so he can take a 2-year fully guaranteed $50 million deal, making just 25, and that's just under the 13%. So he was able to manipulate in a way. But I think you're right. The only way to manipulate to get the cap percent down is to have a very long deal like they did with Pat Mahomes. I mean, you got to put a long extension on it to where you can spread out the signing bonus, and you could make that cap number kind of artificially lower than it really is, and then you restructure in 5 years or so. So there is ways to do it. I think you're right.
You know what Bisciotti's doing? He's saying, Lamar, look, I'm going to pay you $25 million a year, and then every March 1st, I will literally pay you a personal check. Like, he's going back channeling this sucker.
I think that's illegal, but because I think everyone would do that if that was. They'd be like, I'll buy you a house, a $2 million house.
Bisciotti, he just takes that out of his personal checking. He's like, here's a $15 million.
Yeah, because everyone knows how important Lamar Jackson is and how he instantly makes us a contender. Right. So I think the deal ultimately would get done. Yeah. I would be stunned if it wouldn't, but.
And let me say this, Glenn, if you don't mind me interjecting here, I'm also not surprised. I'm surprised by the two sources in the reporting. I'm also not surprised that at this point in the offseason, they're not close. Like, I understand the Ravens want to get this done. I understand Lamar want to get this done. But in all honesty, what urgency do they have? Like, they have 1 year. They have another year on his 5th-year option. They have another year. Right. They have another year that they can franchise tag him if they need to. I'm not saying they're going to play hardball with Lamar. I don't think it's going to be a Dak Prescott type scenario. I think that would be foolish.
The never ending story. Yes.
Right. But I do think the Ravens don't have a ton of urgency. So if Lamar is rightfully so asking for $50 million a year because he's asking for the stars, right? They're going to say, all right, well, we'll sit on it. And we'll come back to you. And they're letting that, that email go further and further and further down in their inbox, and they'll get to it when they get to it,
Yeah, I mean, I think that eventually it gets done, but I agree with you. I think, you as a player, you're trying to get as much money as you can, because players like Lamar, and there's a few, there's a few around the league, no matter what you pay them, they're really underpaid. I mean, for what they do for your team, for your city, the amount of money
from an economic standpoint, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the few guys that's underpaid no matter how much you pay him. But it's also the Ravens' job to make sure they can build an entire team. Now, the quarterback's the most important position on the team, but you still need more than just a good quarterback to win. Just go ask Deshaun Watson and why he wants out of Houston. So I think eventually they get it done, but I understand that there's a negotiation process. You don't just go in and write a blank check. I don't care who you are. So I think it is up to the club, Pat Moriarty, Eric DeCosta, Dick Cass, and those guys to come up with a creative contract that can remain, so the team can remain cap flexible, but Lamar can get what he has earned and what he deserves. So my only question though, Jimmy, is if this let's say that this negotiation extends into the season and then throughout the whole season, they can't come up with a deal this offseason or this upcoming season. And let's hypothetically say the season ends in a similar fashion as it did this year. Any chance that, if they fall short of, say, a conference championship game, if they're eliminated in the wild card or in the divisional round, and it's once again due to the offense maybe not living up to their side of the deal, because I think we both agree the defense was good enough to win it this year. Do you think that could impact the Ravens' willingness to give him a long-term deal?
No, I think it would take a serious, serious injury. Even I don't think an ACL. I don't think
Like
because we're
Dak
beyond
Prescott
that.
type thing?
I think it had to be more than that.
His is
Like
pretty brutal.
his was, but I mean, I think that sports science has gotten so far where he's going to make a full recovery. I guess as long as you see him recovering properly.
Tiger Woods type injury?
Exactly. Right.
Poor guy,
A couple compound fractures might do it. So
but that's about it. So what if they? I don't think this is going to happen. Oh, there goes my light. Hypothetically, what if they miss the playoffs, Jimmy? What if they?
I think he's too young. I think
short. Go 10-6 and miss the playoffs.
No, I don't think so because I think he's got too much out in front of him still. You know what I mean? If this is a 30-year-old or this is a 27, 8-year-old, this is a guy that you think is polished and you see, like, for example, that's why I think the Browns are in a different situation because I don't think Baker, I think he's already what he's going to be in the future. I don't think Lamar Jackson has reached anything close to his potential yet based on the fact that he came out of college younger. He didn't redshirt. You know, I mean, he came out as soon as he could. He was the youngest ever to start a playoff game. So he's got so much out in front of him.
Right.
So I consider that situation to the advantage of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, as long as he remains healthy, which is the big if, because everyone knows that he does take some hits, but he's been able to do it thus far outside of the concussion in the Bills game, which was kind of a freak accident thanks to the center throwing it over his head. But yeah, I'm hopeful that eventually the sides come together. The only thing I worry about is because there's no agent, unless they
like feelings could get hurt.
Yeah, I do worry about that somewhat because we know that. I mean, when we watch baseball, anytime people come up for why am I blanking on the name? Arbitration.
Right.
There can be feelings hurt on either side, especially if a player has clearly outperformed his rookie deal and he feels he deserves a certain amount and the team doesn't. There can be hard feelings between the two. So I do worry that, but who knows? Maybe behind the scenes they've hired a person who is doing some of that negotiation process, and it's not Lamar and his mom in the room, and we're just not aware of it. So I'm hopeful that there's some sort of a middleman because I don't want to see a situation where there's bad blood between the two, and we start seeing tweets from our leader and our quarterback, like similar to what we've seen from Snead and Dez.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the one thing I think you want to avoid. Most certainly. But you guys let us know what you think. What do you think about the reporting? Are you nervous? I don't think Glenn and I are hitting the panic button quite yet based on the fact that it's
Who is Ben?
Yeah, it's one report from the Boston Globe, so we're not crazy concerned about it. None of it is verified by local reporting at this point. Yeah. So let us know what your thoughts are. Leave all your comments, questions below, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you.